Hey everybody, welcome back to JOJ, May 14th,
Yep.
and today is
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. And before we get started, I think we should just address that.
Yes, typically the kids do this episode for us, and so I was like, well, we better say something nice about our moms, because they watch it, and then
Yeah.
we might be in trouble.
Absolutely. So no, but happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and
Yep, especially our moms. I think
Yeah.
we both are blessed with great moms.
Mm-hmm.
There's always the funny, like, bad mother-in-law stipulations or whatever, but it's never been that way for either one of us, so.
not for you anyway.
No.
I'm just kidding.
My mama's just going to come at you.
No, we do. We both have great moms, which equate
Yes.
to great mother-in-laws
Yes.
for each of us.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, and I get some of my, and my mom would attest to this, I get some of my good traits from my mother. I get some of my not so good traits from my mother. So
Yes, he is very much his mother,
Yeah.
his mother's son right here.
Absolutely. Dad is very proud of me, always has been. But I am my mom
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. Which maybe that's why Dad loves me so
Yeah,
much.
maybe so, maybe so.
Yeah,
Yep.
no doubt. I'm definitely my mother.
For sure.
Yeah, and Jennie is her mother in some ways,
I am.
and not some ways.
And, yeah.
Yeah,
Love you, Mama.
yeah,
We say some of the crazy skipped a generation, and Abigail's got it all.
yeah. Some of us skipped your mother too,
Yes, this
and
is
you
true.
got some of.
And yes, I resemble my Nana B some.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right. Well, this week, are you going to do the
Oh yeah,
week? Okay.
yeah. I forgot already.
Okay.
Okay, so the title for
Okay.
the title is Justice in Time. The Bible verse is Philemon 1:17. If then you count me as a partner, receive him as you would me. Forgiving someone who has wronged you is hard to do, even at the best of times. Sometimes in our humanity, we'd rather seek our own justice. Yet forgiveness is what Paul asked of Philemon. He wanted Philemon to forgive, really?
Onesimus.
Onesimus, his slave who stole from him and ran away. According to the law of the day, Philemon could have enacted a heavy punishment due to, what was that?
Onesimus.
Onesimus. I think this is planned that you had me read this. Onesimus's theft and desertion. Paul, however, pleaded with Philemon to follow the higher law of forgiveness. Receive him as a beloved brother, Paul wrote. I'm going to call this guy One from now on. When One returned to his master, Phil, heard his confession and plea and heeded Paul's request. Phil forgave him and freed him. As a result of this forgiveness, One became a prominent leader in the early church. Y'all laugh, but it's much better this way. Phil's story shows us that forgiveness is a way of life for the believer. As we forgive and are forgiven, we grow in God's grace. Is there someone in your life whom you need to forgive? A family member, friend, or colleague? Remember that God will exercise his wise justice in his own time. Ask God to bring the person to mind and take the bold step of forgiveness today. And then the little quote is, the only thing harder than forgiveness is the alternative. And that was Philip Yancey.
So this story now is about Phil and One.
Yes. It's just better that way.
Paul, Phil, and One. I like it. I mean, Paul's only got 4 letters in his name,
I know,
so
Paul was easy.
He shortened them up, made it a little bit easier. It is the title of it being Justice in Time. I mean, Paul was asking Philemon to give, to show grace to Onesimus, to not give him what he deserved and not give him the punishment that he could have. I mean, it was, according to the law at that time, Onesimus deserved what Philemon, kind of maybe had coming in his mind, but Paul was urging him to not do that, receive him as a beloved brother was what he, was asking him to do in that. And I don't know, reading through this, it made me think of a verse, and that was the one that I looked up, and it's in the Old Testament, but then it's quoted multiple times in the New Testament as well. But one of the places is in Romans 12:19, and And it says, "Never take your own revenge, beloved, but leave leave room for the wrath of God, for it is written, 'Vengeance is mine; I will repay,' says the Lord." That's that Paul isn't saying Onesimus is going to get his in this. He's asking Philemon to be like, just receive him as a brother. God's got a plan for him. He's going to use him. Just don't do that. Don't take this. Don't act in justice the way that you could in this. But anytime that I see, not that I've been done wrong a lot in my life, I've had situations in professional stuff where I was in the right and somebody else was in the wrong, and could I have pushed the issue? Could I have done something? Could I have taken action? Maybe, and maybe could have asked for punishment to that other person, but I didn't push for it. Now, if I outright saw wrong myself, yes, I would take action on that. But especially if it was against somebody else, truthfully, if I saw this person did that person wrong, personally, I'm more apt to try to right their wrong than I am if it's against me.
Yeah,
I've just always been that way, and I feel like a lot of it comes from this verse here in Romans, the 12:19. And in my opinion, and that's the way I try to live, is by this. God will take care of it. That the small stuff, whatever it may be, small, big, especially in my professional career, God's going to take care of it. There's so much bigger things out there to worry about. I'm not going to fret over it. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Vengeance is His. Leave room for God's wrath. His is a lot. I mean, He can do so much more than anything I could possibly consider. So that's something that I've always tried to live by. Is that it's not worth causing a bunch of drama in our own personal life or causing a bunch of negativity to make a scene sometimes,
or to prove we're right,
or to prove we're right.
That person is wrong.
Yeah, just let God handle it.
Yeah, which I think probably a lot of that comes probably from some maturity.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say more as far as, because we see it every day with our kids. So, of whether they're in the wrong or the wrong's being done to them, or, and I have to really, really, really stop, because sometimes, they might get in the car and they'll be like, oh, well, so-and-so said this and did that, and I am like, hey, well, this is how we're going to respond. Then okay, that's probably not the best way to respond. So I've learned to not speak in that moment and to okay, let's look at it from their point of view. It doesn't mean that you necessarily always do something to cause that reaction from them, but maybe they're dealing with their own issue over here that you don't see, and that's just causing them to focus on you.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of the same thing, obviously, in the professional world. That's what more serious offenses typically, but just even with your own kids, because I know I'm very guilty of, if somebody comes after one of my kids, then you better believe my first thought is well, hey, we know this we could shed some light on that person. They want to talk about you,
right.
But I know that's not right.
Yeah.
And I don't want to teach my kids or our kids, to have that reaction too. So, just even in middle school, I just had a conversation with one of them the night before of hey, go in, kind of speak your piece, apologize for anything you've done, and ask to just move on. That's all you can do. You can't control other people's thoughts or decisions of you. You can control what you do. And so I think a lot of that is maturity and knowing that, okay, if I've done everything biblically that I need to do, then you have to trust that God's going to fix and the dark will come to light. And sometimes the dark won't come to light, but at the end of the day, that's not on us to fix,
right,
or to broadcast either.
That's right. Yeah, it's certainly not to try to bring somebody else down or something in that situation. That's this line right here. Philemon's story shows us that forgiveness is a way of life for the believer. If we're a Christian, if we've come to know Christ, we've been forgiven a lot. You know, I mean, and that's true for all of us that have come to Christ. We've been forgiven a lot. That's our job now as Christians, is to forgive others, regardless of what they do. That's what we're called to do, is to forgive others the way that Christ forgave us. So, yeah, that's what, you know, that's how we can show the grace of God to other people, is by forgiving them. So,
Yep.
If there is anyone in your life you need to forgive, we certainly encourage you to do that. You know, the friends and colleagues, those a lot of times are easier than family members. You know, the stuff that's closer to home. You know, closer to you.
That usually tends to sting more.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, certainly anybody out there in your own life that has done something and you need to forgive them. You know, certainly encourage you to do that. But having your forgiveness rooted in Christ is step number one. And if you don't have that, you need to get that forgiveness first. But then if there's somebody else out there that you know you need to forgive, certainly do that as well. So happy Mother's Day.
Yeah. Happy Mother's Day.
Hope y'all have enjoyed it with your mother, or maybe you're watching JOJ while you're eating dinner with your mother right now. So.
Yeah.
But we will catch you all next week, and I'm excited for next week because Jenny's going to read it, and I think she's going to think it's pretty funny.
Great.